Hey everyone, so today we're going to take a look at the very first supercars. The Lamborghini Miura is known to be the very first supercar released. It came out in 1966 and was sold up until 1973. And what we're looking at is a bunch of Kyosho models of these Miuras. So this one just came in the mail. I took it out of the box already. There's really nothing to show. There's no year of manufacture, which is a shame. But anyways, typical blister pack. I got the colorways here. I got blue. Well, a little bit here. It does say it's a 4-liter engine, posterior, like a rear engine, and it's well, that's it for that card. Anyways, my internet research is telling me though this is a V12 engine. It's transversely mounted in the rear, and it made around 350 horsepower in this first variation. So the P400 is that first variation, and I believe 275 of these were made between 1966 and 1969, and they sold for $20,000 back then, which is around $163,000 in today's money. So actually not that expensive by today's hypercar standards. One thing that's weird about this car, but bear in mind it's the mid-60s, the engine and the gearbox were one casting, so they actually shared the same lubrication. But it's really not a good idea to share transmission fluid with engine fluid, because if any sort of metal shards get shaved off in one or the other, it's gonna it might potentially destroy one or the other, so it's not a good idea. Anyways, some people say that one reason why this is a supercar, beyond the beautiful styling by Marcello Gandini when he was working at Bertone, but it had a steel frame and doors, but the aluminum front and rear skin body sections are pretty groundbreaking at the time, I guess. Not many cars were made out of aluminum bodies. So, okay, well, yeah, starting here on the side, you get this really sleek, elegant look, of course. And this particular Kyosho variation, pretty nice, except for the tire. I'm gonna have to mess with this later. Ignoring this one, but look at this tire. It's got some nice curvature to the sidewall, and unfortunately, there's something wrong with that. I'm gonna have to flip that tire around. But really, the wheels are looking really nice. I mean, there's a lot of detail going on in these wheels. There's the center knockoff itself. There's some depth to these spoke holes. And then there's even more stuff going on in here. So, pretty great detail. This gold trim here is nice because it's got additional black to indicate the vent that belongs there. We have the logo of Bertone here on the side. Right? So there's the B logo. Not sure what it says underneath it though, it's not legible. Okay, so unfortunately I do see that the panel gap is filled in with this blue paint. It's not so bad back here, but they really laid on the paint thick. And I didn't even see with my own eyes, but there's a little reflector dot there on the front. So that's pretty good. There's also black molding painted on the molded windows there. Okay, so now on the top we got this plastic piece for the engine cover, some rib details there, some molded in wipers painted black, and then some sort of molded detail in the interior, but so dark you can't really see anything. This is molded plastic, I think, probably part of the base pan, and also this is part of the casting. So one feature about Miuras are these eyelashes, they're called, these little ribs near the pop-up headlights. These lights do pop up when they turn on. So now we got the Lambo crest here. It looks alright, but it does look a little bit off center. It's looking like it's shifted that way. So under magnification, it looks like the paint might have not been so smooth, or maybe contaminant, or possibly paint bubbling. But when I look at it with the naked eye, it's barely visible. So I guess I'm okay with it. I'm not sure again when this model came out. There's no date on the box or the model itself. So here we got the silver paint for some lights here. Fog lights, running lights, not sure which is which, but we got a little texture here in this grill and some more paint here for 2 more vents. So yeah, back to the bottom here, we got the P400 and treaded tires, a little silver paint on the exhaust tips, and unfortunately they're just blocked off, there's no depth to them, but they're pretty small. So anyways, great texture here. I wish the black ran all the way to the top, but oh well. Thick plastic lenses, very good. A little black paint for these bumperettes, and then the branding here you can kind of read Lamborghini. It's not the best. But the Miura logo is a lot better. I mean, it's got that weird bowl kind of shaped M. So, pretty cool. Alright. This side, let's see here. Focus. Alright, so same. I don't really notice any problems, so that's good. Pretty smooth paint, actually. I wish there was a little black paint here in these vents here, but they are pretty small. I'm not sure if they could have pulled it off nicely. Okay, so all in all, it's a pretty good model. Only a tiny bit of a paint problem here. But yeah, it's not perfect. It seems like it's very rare to get a perfect model in this scale. It's a real shame, you know, that this industry can't put out consistently good products. It's too bad. Although this model might be really old. A lot of Kyoshos are pretty old, so. Okay. Also another bit I found out is these wheels are 15 inches, which sounds pretty small by modern standards, but this is actually kind of a smaller car by today's standards also. So, okay, so in the chronology of Miuras, there's a model that doesn't exist in this scale, to my understanding. It's the next one called the P400S, which came out in 1968. But doing some internet searching, I couldn't find one. I don't think Kyosho made one. So we have to jump to the next model, which came out in 1970, and that's the Hota, or Italians pronounce it Yota. I guess a J is a Y in Italian, so sorry, there we go. So the Hota is interesting. It's a one-off car that was eventually crashed and burned, so it doesn't exist anymore, but it was all about weight reduction and improving handling. So a lot of the panels were replaced with aluminum, so I think that's why you see all these rivet marks. So it's like airplane aluminum. And then also they added a front spoiler because when the fuel started to run low here in the front, it would get light, you know, so it'd want to lift off and fly off somewhere and lose traction and crash. So that lip is there to try to keep some downforce, keep those tires, you know, gripping the road. You'll notice here there's totally different wheels. I'm not sure if they're accurate, but being Kyosho, I'm sure they are. So what else here? There's a lot of weight reduction, not only in the bodywork, but even the windows were changed over to plastic, like racing polycarbonate windows. So it ended up dropping 360 kilos off the regular car's weight. 360 kilos is a lot. That's like 3 people. That's like 3 grown men or more. So it's pretty impressive. Also, another difference that you might see is the headlights. They're not pop-ups anymore. They're just fixed racing lights. So that, again, reduces weight. And I guess the engine in this was tweaked a little bit to increase up to 440 horsepower. So it's a pretty cool one-off. Sadly, it was sold to someone, and that someone crashed it and it burned. So it's a darn shame. Yeah, okay. So the back is totally different, right? It's all lightened out and stuff. So pretty neat. Okay. I've put I think all these models are in my other videos, but they're just hidden away with other models, so I wanted to show these off again if you're only interested in the Miura. So in 1971, the 400 SV came out, and this has some more engine tweaks, so now the engine's up to 380 horsepower. And the last 96 engines, I guess, had a split sump, meaning now the transmission and engine were not sharing fluids anymore. They had specific, you know, lubricants for each job, so that's good. The one noticeable feature that makes this different from that first Miura is the lack of the eyelashes, and Kyosho got it right. You know, that black is different. So let me pull up the first one again. So you'll see it doesn't have that extra surface here around the headlamps. These eyelashes, they're called. So I'm not sure why they would have done that, but that's the noticeable difference, I guess. The back, let's see if there's any big changes. Not really. Well, the tail lamps are a little bit different. So, and then Kyosho got lazy. They didn't paint these exhaust tips, so that's too bad. Some minor differences in the casting there as well. And actually the rivet points are totally different. Interesting. Okay, well anyways, anything else about this? This is supposed to have wider rear fenders, and actually I do notice that, right? So wider rear fenders is pretty good, and I guess 150 of these SVs were produced. So that is the next one in the Miura line. Okay, so I have 3 more. This next one is called a P400 SVJ, and only 6 of these cars were made in the real world. And let's see here. Oh, one interesting thing I found out is the Shah of Iran had one of these under armed guards, but then the revolution occurred in Iran, so the government seized these because the Shah fled the country. You know, he wanted to live. They were killing everyone there, so this thing was seized by the government and sold off to Dubai. And then Nicolas Cage spent almost $500,000 buying that car from the original Shah. It was like a maroon car. You can just find some websites about it. And then there's another SVJ that sold for almost $2 million at an auction. I think it was an auction. But anyways, well, with only 6 of these ever made, so it makes sense as to why these things are expensive. So some noticeable differences here is this one has these side vents behind the front wheel wells, whereas the other two, the non-Hotas, don't, right? So it's just flat. So interesting change there. It's also got a racing fuel filler cap here in the front, and then totally different vents here for the radiator. That looks pretty much the same. It's got a spoiler lip like a Hota, but not as pronounced. And then the back is kind of like the Hota again, where it's a really exposed rear end, and 2 additional vents here as well. And then also vents back here behind the rear tires. So, and the wheels do look a little bit different. So this one has one mirror for some reason. I'm not sure if they even had mirrors on these cars back then. I don't think they did. And then the wiper blades over here and there. Now that seems to be the same. Okay. So 2 more. So the next one is also a one-off concept. Well, it's not a concept. It was just the only one made, and it's got an interesting story. This is called the SVR, the Miura SVR. And there was a German gentleman, Hans Staber. I'm not sure. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. He had a 1968 Miura S, and he crashed it. So he approached Lambo about maybe fixing it up to become a Hota, meeting those specs. But Lambo said it's not possible. So he went on his own and he sourced a bunch of parts, and he showed up at the Lamborghini factory with brakes from a Porsche 917, some sort of Coney suspension components, these 3-piece PBS wheels, and a bunch of other stuff like that, wing, and a whole lot of cash, and a whole lot of money, and he had Lamborghini make this one-off car for him, this SVR. So unfortunately, I guess this car also crashed and is no longer part of the world we live in. But yeah, you can see again, now we have some riveting around there, those vents there, the BBS wheels, more riveting, more vents there. Similar to the last car we saw, but yeah, this top wing, Kyosho added an antenna up there. And it looks like it's got fixed headlamps. So, and then the big spoiler, and Kyosho has some plastic inserted lights there. So, yeah, it's quite nice. I mean, unfortunately, because it's red, it's got this paint bubbling. I think this model is pretty old. I'm not sure when it first came out. But that's that one. Okay. So the very last one is from 2006, where they did a concept car, to show what a Miura might look like in modern times. And I don't think it had an interior, which is why Kyosho just had black windows. There's no transparent windows on this one. But the size of it is much bigger. It's more to modern standards. And it still looks like a Miura. I mean, the wheels look similar to those old ones. It's just all streamlined, It's not as clunky to look at. It just looks modern, right? A modern retake. Retro styling, I suppose. So, okay, so let me line all these up here. And you can take a look. If you love the first supercar for the Lamborghinis, Kyosho did a really good job, mimicking all of them, I think. The only one that's sadly missing is the 1968 P400S. Or maybe I just got to do some more searches, and maybe they did make one, I'm not sure. But interesting, I found a little photo of a Miura meet. I'm guessing you don't see that many Miuras in one place. but I got this off sportscardigest.com there. So okay, so that's it for today. I appreciate you guys watching, and we'll see you later. Bye.